Discrimination, unfortunately, is a common problem that most people will be a victim of. One of the groups that are often excluded from the media are those who suffer from hearing impairment. All over the news, you will see groups of people who come together to end discrimination against groups that stand out more to the media, especially if it involves religion or politics. That is why I have chosen to speak up about those who live with hearing impairment. Just because it is not on the front cover of the newspaper, on your Facebook feed, or the #1 story on CNN, does not mean millions of people who are deaf don't suffer every day. Just think about how easily we take for granted how convenient life is for us. Imagine if you woke up one day and you weren't able to hear anything. Although some are born with hearing impairments, some also lose their hearing in an unfortunate event. Suddenly, all the things that were so easy once before, like asking an employee which aisle you can find the spices on, or calling up your school to discuss the problem with your payment, or even expressing your love to your loved ones, becomes the most difficult task. Not only is every day a challenge for these people, but getting a job is even more difficult. According to the article, Fighting Workplace Discrimination Against the Hearing Impaired by Gina Shaw, about 250 to 300 students graduate a year with hearing impairments and fear that they will be forced to hire their own interpreter to even be considered for a job. Although some employers wish to have a solution, most employers do not try to find the resources to help these people and often deny them the job. This is mainly because this costs the employer money during the hiring and training process, but also long-term while providing the amenities to give these people equal opportunity. For example, in the same article, it elaborates on one person who worked at a company for over 12 years, but then they changed the software program and refused to help train her. This person was later fired, all because they did not give her the proper resources for her to learn the new equipment. Employers often look for education and experience during the hiring process, but another big key point for them is how well you communicate. People with hearing impairments usually talk in sign language, and even though communicate well through signing, a lot of employers do not know sign language, which creates a huge barrier. Not being able to communicate effectively also creates a distance between the coworkers, which is hard given the fact that everyone relies heavily on their coworkers to help them complete a project as a team. Most jobs also require their employees to be able to receive information and respond to it rapidly, which is difficult if it takes the employee more time to understand the information they are being provided with. For example, if one of the managers is trying to put out information to everyone in the room, and he raises his voice loud enough for everyone to hear him, there is a very good chance that someone with inadequate hearing had no idea this person was speaking and now missed all the information. This is no one's fault, but it still slows down the task, which is a big deal to most employers, seeing how high their rates are what allow them to make a profit. With everything in the world designed to accommodate someone with great vision and hearing, almost everything is twice as hard for the deaf. Someone who cannot hear must put in more effort to produce the same output of work. This is unfair and places a large amount of stress on those having to deal with being at a disadvantage, which results in a lot of errors that could have been easily avoided. Another article, Estimates of Wage Discrimination Against Workers with Sensory Disabilities, with Controls of Job Demands, by Baldwin and Chow, also demonstrates another problem. Employers often think that hiring those with sensory disabilities will also increase complaints of harassment and discrimination. Ironically, them choosing not to hire them based on this thought is actually discrimination itself. Fortunately for those with hearing disabilities, there are many affordable and simple solutions to help better accommodate them in the workforce. Some solutions do not even need large amounts of time to be installed or implanted. Gina Shaw quotes in one of her sources in the article, who talks about how she simply could not see when people were trying to speak to her from behind, so she went to the auto shop and bought a couple of rear view mirrors, and that solved the problem. She also talks about how so many problems can be solved and prevented by simply speaking to a proactive audiologist about how to better accommodate the workplace. Many employers honestly do not know what technology or resources a deaf employee needs, and has no idea what precautions to take or how to make their lives easier and allow them to feel equal to all the other employees. Sometimes employers simply need to be taught what they can do to make people with sensory disabilities more comfortable and more productive. Most people in this country do not know much about being deaf and simply need to be informed and also shown that just because someone is incapable of hearing does not mean that they cannot work just as well as others, if not better. It also does not mean that it has to cost the employer a lot of money. Most devices and equipment utilized by the deaf are very affordable, and in most cases, the employer will be reimbursed for making such purchases on behalf of the employee. Nobody deserves to feel like they are not good enough to get a job just because they cannot hear. With all the technology that we have in today's society, there are no excuses why people with hearing disabilities should even be at a disadvantage. They can receive information, accomplish the task, and then give feedback once completed. That is all you could ask of an employee, regardless of how capable they are at verbally communicating. As you can see, these articles I have been provided with show many ways the deaf are discriminated in the workplace, and it is important to overlook the media sometimes to see other groups that are struggling with discrimination. I hope one day we can find a permanent solution that benefits the deaf and also the employers.